Great. Thank you all for joining us for tonight's Whitestown Planning Commission meeting. We'll call this meeting to order and begin with the Pledge of Allegiance. Please rise.
I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America,
to the republic for which it stands,
one nation,
under God, indivisible,
with liberty and justice for all.
Staff, would you begin by calling roll for us, please?
Yes. Matt Doublestein.
Present.
Andrew McGee.
Here.
Sarah Ford.
Here.
Lauren Foley.
Here.
Dave Taylor.
Here.
Danny Powers.
Here.
Steve Milstead.
Here.
Thank you. And looking at tonight's agenda, I'd like to propose that we combine items A and B. And Brittany, did you want to make note of the other item?
Yes, I would like to mention that item E that was previously on the agenda, it was PC 20-053-ZA, and it was the H&H Holdings Becknell rezone, has been continued to the next hearing. So that will not be on this agenda item tonight and has been continued and will be heard at the January hearing.
Anything else on the agenda? Is there a motion to approve?
A motion to approve the agenda, combining items A and B.
Second.
A motion and a second. Brittany, will you call roll for us?
Yes. Matt Doublestein.
Aye.
Andrew McGee.
Aye.
Sarah Ford.
Aye.
Lauren Foley.
Aye.
Dave Taylor.
Aye.
Danny Powers.
Aye.
Steve Milstead.
Aye.
Passes. Is there a motion on the minutes from last meeting?
I make a motion to approve the minutes from the November 9th, 2020 Plan Commission meeting.
Second.
Motion and second.
Matt Doublestein.
Aye.
Andrew McGee.
Aye.
Sarah Ford.
Aye.
Lauren Foley.
Aye.
Dave Taylor.
Aye.
Danny Powers.
Aye.
Steve Milstead.
Aye.
Passes as well. Thank you. Do we have any public requests to speak on non-agenda items?
I have not received any requests in the chat.
Do you have any filed ahead of time?
No, we do not.
Okay. So, presentations are unfinished business, so moving to new business. We'll begin with docket PC 20-049 and 050, concept plans and development plans for Meadows on Main.
Ask Chris Wright to unmute. If it's not you, let me know.
I believe Matt's going to speak on our behalf, Matt Price.
Matt Price, okay.
And then Jill, if you will also allow the ability to share screen for a presentation for Matt.
I can do that. All right, Matt, you should be allowed to present now.
Thank you very much. It's good to be with you all this evening. I'll share my screen here and then I'll make some introductions of our development team and give you an overview of the proposal that we have in front of you this evening. Let's see. See that okay?
Yes.
Well, thank you again. My name's Matt Price. I'm with Denton's Bingham Greenebaum, and I'm here on behalf of Herman and Kittle Properties, the developer and builder of this proposal. Let me introduce our team members that are with me here this evening, and we are all available to answer any questions at the end of our proposal. I have Mike Roederer with us, who's a Senior Vice President for Development. Chris Wright, who you heard from just a moment ago as we were getting the audio set up for the presentation. We also have Juliana Velez, who is our heads our architectural team on this project, as well as Richard Berger, our civil engineer. Take you through just a little bit of an overview. I know you're all familiar with this property in connection with the public hearings that were held on the Bridal Oaks rezoning from earlier this year. And yes, that was earlier this year. Whenever I think about something that happened in the March, April timeframe, it seems like it happened a long, long time ago this year, but it was only a few months ago. To give you an idea of where the property is located, it's just east of Main Street and slightly north of the Albert S. White Parkway. It's a little over 13 acres, and I just borrowed the shot that's in your staff report that outlines the property in question. So that's the general area we're talking about. This is a site plan that shows the layout of the proposal. It would gain access off of Main Street with a boulevard style divided entrance. Building on the concepts that were in the PUD for Bridal Oaks, this is a multifamily development to provide 264 new dwellings to help provide housing options that will help support the vicinity, as well as, in particular, the redevelopment of the legacy core, as was stated in our project narrative. There's a total of 10 buildings, not including the garage structures. So those 264 units are spread among those 10 units. I'll speak a little bit about this more in detail when we look at the architecture, but one of the things to note is that the buildings as they front or as they are adjacent to Main Street are smaller in size, just slightly over 32 feet, and borrow from many of the residential type architectural themes of the vicinity. And then as you move from west to east, the buildings get slightly taller, with the larger buildings being the furthest east on the site plan. And we'll show that in a little more detail here a little bit later. This, for example, is the larger buildings that I showed on the eastern part of the property. We've worked very hard from an architectural standpoint to meet and comply with the architectural requirements in our PUD, including the use of the masonry features, the brick, the masonry siding, the use of various architectural features to make the structure very on a very human level. And these are the visual representations of the buildings along our southern drive. The property will have an access drive that runs along its southern portion that then eventually joins into through a connection point to the Albert S. White Parkway. And then these represent the buildings that are adjacent to Main Street. And as you can see, they're two levels, but smaller in size as compared to the buildings that are further east or along the southern driveway. But again, consistent architecture, borrowing from the requirements in the PUD and building single family residential that's to the west. I should also add that the project is equipped with a number of amenities. This will have a clubhouse and pool, picnic area, a dog park. Again, we're trying to attract the young professionals and locally employed individuals who want to have a first-class place to live near where they work. And so the project is equipped with amenities to make it not only an attractive place to live, but an enjoyable place to live. Also, the site plan, as we've talked about, as we've gone through the various aspects of this development, does include a sidewalk along our southern drive, but also a 10-foot multimodal pathway along the frontage of Main Street as well. I wanted to pick out just a couple more slides because I'm very proud of the execution of this aspect of the plan, and particularly since it was something that we discussed during some of the earlier zoning phases of the project. This is a depiction of the landscaping treatments. And in particular, I wanted to note the landscaping along the frontage of our buildings along Main Street and along our southern drive. It's a very robust package and takes advantage of the fact that the parking for the development is located in the interior of the project and not along its exterior, which we think provides for a very enhanced streetscape and makes the development very compatible with adjoining land uses. And I'll show kind of a tighter shot of that. This shows, really I wanted to highlight here kind of the extensive nature of the landscaping at our entrance point so that passersby along Main Street will be able to use and see the pathway, but really will not be able to look into so much the project itself, at least insofar as seeing parking. They'll be able to look in and see an attractively landscaped entrance that leads directly into our clubhouse and the pool and other amenities I mentioned immediately behind that location. That's the presentation in a nutshell. We agree with the staff report. We've worked very hard and collaboratively with staff to meet each one of the development standards in our planned unit development. We look forward to answering any questions that you have this evening and respectfully request your approval here tonight. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there staff report?
Staff is providing favorable recommendation for proposed concept and development plan for dockets PC 20-049-CP and PC 20-050-DP, with providing favorable recommendation. Whitestown planning staff is also providing a few conditions to be placed on the motion. A sidewalk connection needs to be made between the internal sidewalk network to the sidewalk along the proposed southern street. A motion of approval will need to be contingent upon the Bridal Oaks Phase 1 secondary plat approval, and any outstanding TAP comments for Public Works Department will need to be met.
Thank you. At this point, we can open up for public discussion. Is there anyone who has indicated a desire to speak on this item?
I've received no messages.
I did not receive anyone that registered a public request to speak prior to the meeting either.
Just for the good of those who may be joining us for the first time, if you'd like to speak on this item, your microphone is currently muted. Please open your chat bar at the bottom of your Zoom. You can type a message to Jill, let her know that you'd like to speak on the item, and then we can unmute you. Now, we might want to just give a couple minutes. We did make that general comment at the beginning. See if anybody comments.
Absolutely. Thank you, sir. Give it a couple minutes here.
I do have one request to speak. It's from Nicole and Eric Lodiga. I will unmute you.
Great. Thank you. If you'd please give your name and address.
Hi, my name is Nicole Lodiga Lothian. I live at 7367 East 300 in Whitestown. Just a quick question, and I might have missed it, but what is the planned or average rent that will be for the apartments?
Thank you for that question. Mr. Price, do we have an answer on that one at this point?
Can you hear me okay?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so we have a mixed variety of rents. We, as you may have seen from the elevations I showed, we are offering primarily single 1-bedroom and 2-bedroom apartments with a few 3-bedroom and even still fewer, but some 4-bedroom apartments. And so the rents will vary depending on the number of bedrooms. And so we have a variety of price points. And certainly this is, it's designed to provide housing options for those who want to live close by where they work. So we hope to be very competitive in that marketplace.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who's requested to speak?
I have received no comments.
Another moment here. All right, thank you, everyone. Are there any closing remarks from the petitioner? Oh, he's muted again. There you are. Mr. Price, do you have any further closing remarks?
I don't believe so. We appreciate your time this evening and certainly intend to continue to work with staff as we go through the secondary plat and move on into the next phase. Thank you.
Thank you. Then we'll close the public hearing and call for questions and comments from members of the commission. Anyone have anything?
My question was going to be about price as well, but rent, I should say. So, I mean, I know it's going to be a range, but can you give us, so what would be for a single one? And I know you can't give me an exact amount, but what are we looking at? I mean, are we looking at what kind of range are we looking at for a person just looking to get like a 1-bedroom apartment?
Yeah, so depending on the unit, I would range upwards to a little over $900 a month. And in canvassing other rents in the vicinity, that seems to be kind of where the market is. And then likewise, as best I could tell, likewise for the 2-bedroom apartments as well. But we'll have a range of rentals within each of those units. But what I wanted to do is give you an idea, though, that you know, it's it is a competitive proposal, but the rents do range upwards to that level that you'll see in other places, including Zionsville.
Thank you.
Anything else, members? Then is there a motion on this item, these items? And do recall that staff has provided some other conditions that they recommend for a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve with the concept plan and the development plan with the conditions on the development plan as stated in the staff report. Or do I need to read those out, Jonathan? Or
I think the staff report
Yeah.
was read and stated, but for the good of the record, that's a sidewalk connection between the internal sidewalk network to the sidewalk along the proposed Southern Street, and contingent upon phase 1 secondary plat approval and outstanding TAC comments and the public and comments from the Public Works Department. Those are the 3 conditions.
There's a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion?
All right, Matt Doublestein.
Aye.
Andrew McGee.
Aye.
Sarah Ford.
Aye.
Lauren Foley.
Aye.
Dave Taylor.
Aye.
Danny Powers.
Aye.
Steve Milstead.
Aye.
This motion passes. Move on then to docket PC 20-051-CP, SCP multi-family concept plan. Is petitioner ready?
I think it's Brian Sheward. If not, please let me know.
It is Brian Sheward, and if you can also let him share his screen.
Yeah, can everybody hear me?
Hi, Brian.
Hi.
Hi,
Great.
and you should be able to share your screen whenever you're ready.
Sure, I will share it right now. Let me see if I can do it. You know when you can see that.
Hey, Brian.
All right. Well, good evening. As Brittany said, my name is Brian Sheward. I'm a civil engineer here at Kimley Horn and Associates. Our offices are at 250 East 96th Street, Suite 580 in Indianapolis, Indiana. Tonight with me is Will Zink. You can see I'm sitting over my back shoulder with Strategic Capital Partners, and two of my colleagues, Liam Sawyer and Drew Wolford, on the line as well. Tonight, we're seeking a concept plan approval for a multifamily apartment project on the Emmis Towers site, which I will explain where that's at on the next slide. So the project, members of the Planning Commission, as you recall, earlier this year, we had brought forward a concept and development plan for the Glasswater Creek project. That's just north of this site. So getting your bearings, the Emmis property is where the radio towers are located on the east, kind of northeast side of I-65, just north of Whitestown Parkway. North of the site is the Redwood residential development here along New Hope Boulevard. To the east of the site is the neighborhood park, as well as Gateway Drive and the rest of the Anson neighborhood. To the south, there's an apartment complex, as well as the Wood Springs Suites, kind of to the southwest. And then Perryworth Road fronts I-65 on the west side of the site. The site's obviously highlighted here in green. It's about a 10.6 acre portion of the overall Emmis property. Got a few pictures just to give you a sense of what it looks like out there. This is the site from the west. You can see that those towers, there's 6 of them on the property today, as well as a small radio tower building. One important note is with this project, moving forward, those 6 towers would be removed off of the property. Next picture is panning around in a counterclockwise direction from Perryworth Road, looking towards the water tower there in the background. And there's the radio building that sits out there today. This is from Wood Springs, or I'm sorry, this is from New Hope Boulevard, looking towards 65, and you can see that same building over in this area, as well as the towers in the foreground. And lastly, this is a picture of the apartment complex just to the south of this project site, the Anson Apartments that are just to the south. So this is an excerpt from the narrative that we submitted with this concept plan submittal. The property is zoned urban business. As you may recall, that's a bit of a unique zoning classification in Whitestown. I believe this is the only property in Whitestown that's zoned urban business. It's intended to be a mixture of a lot of different uses. And there's a history a number of years ago where it was rezoned to urban business to give a vibrant mix of opportunity for the project to develop. This particular project, as it was initially submitted, is a 3-building, 222 unit multifamily development on 10.6 acres with an amenity center, access drives, parking areas, and utilities. Since filing, we took this to the Board of Zoning Appeals about a week and a half ago. And the reason we took it there was because in the new UDO update, which just became effective in the last few months, it was noticed that multifamily residential was not listed under the urban business under permitted uses. So we approached staff and they had recommended that we take it to the BZA to get a use variance, which we took on December 3rd, and we were approved. And through that discussion, as Mr. McGee can elaborate, we had agreed to reduce the number of units on this project down to 217. And just because of the way in which the units lay out, our proposal tonight is for 216 units. 3 buildings and 1 amenity center is what it's composed of. This is an aerial backing to show what this project really looks like in proximity to the surrounding area. The project site, the 10.6 acres, is surrounded in red, where I'm circling right now. And then the Glasswater Creek site, which is currently under construction, is just to the north in the blue color. And one important feature of this project is the extension of what we're referring to as Hemlock Drive. That's the short stub road that goes into the Redwood development to the north. As a part of this project, at the same time that this project would be constructed, there would be about a 2,000-foot long extension of a public road brought through the property to provide connectivity between New Hope Boulevard and Perryworth Road. I'll explain in a moment, but that is consistent with the thoroughfare plan and plays into the greater connectivity of the area, and something that the town supports, and I'll be able to get to that shortly. In addition, one important note, we are cognizant that there is residential single family to the east. The existing woods that border along the edge of the park today are largely going to remain. And I say largely, the only reason why we would touch any of those trees is to make a stormwater outfall from our proposed detention pond. So this strip of trees that people that live on the east side of Gateway East Drive that look out their front windows to the west, that natural buffer that exists today will remain as part of this project. This is a zoom in site plan. Just to highlight a few things, there are 3 apartment buildings with this project that surround the exterior of the site. So building 1 is in the northwest. There's an entry drive off of the proposed roadway extension. Building 2 wraps around the southwest, and building 3 wraps around the southeast corner with an amenity center on the entry drive located right here. Detention basin and along the east property line and also south of the property line that will serve both the development and the road needs for detention. A couple of stats about the project. As I said, the site area is 10.6 acres. It's zoned urban business. There are 4 proposed buildings, 3 residential buildings and 1 amenity center, 216 total units between the 3 buildings. And we have a parking ratio that exceeds the minimum required under this classification, the zoning class and use. As a part of this project, we understood from working on the Glasswater Creek project to the north, as well as conversations with the town, Danny Powers, Jason, and Brittany early on, that traffic would be a big component of this project. And so we've produced a traffic study as a part of our concept plan, and that's been submitted and it's been in review, and we've been working with the town through that. What you see in this graphic, the red dashed line is the Hemlock Drive extension that is proposed with the project. The site is shown in yellow, Glasswater Creek is shown in purple. And one item to kind of point out as a greater picture of connectivity in Whitestown is that there is the proposed interchange off of County Road 550 that is under construction now. When that is completed, County Road 550 will not connect across to Meadowview Drive, which there will be a disconnect. And the intent is over time, the yellow dashed line is the plan for the 575 extension to go north. This road in red, which I'll show on the next slide, has been contemplated by the thoroughfare plan. And the town is intending to move forward to improve Perryworth Road along the frontage of the MS parcel to provide a means for the anticipated traffic, which is anticipated to increase along Perryworth Road with this new interchange coming online in the next few years. So this is an excerpt from the thoroughfare plan. And you can see we're roughly in this location that I've kind of circled in yellow. There's a number here for number 4, and this graphic was noted as changes and updates to the thoroughfare plan when it was issued. On number 4 on the next page, there's a note that says that the Gateway East Drive and Perryworth Road intent and the change is to create a connection to Perryworth Road to Gateway East Drive, create external road network for neighborhoods. So the intent is to provide a means to get to this interchange. And also, as the greater MS site develops and frontage areas along the interstate develop, it gives it another means of reaching this new interchange with the Hemlock Drive extension. Again, I'll be brief on this. The traffic study, a couple of notes to point out from the traffic study. As stated in our summary, traffic projections associated with the proposed development are not expected to cause significant impact on area traffic operation with implementation of the noted recommendations. The noted recommendations are fairly minor. Restriping at the intersection of New Hope Boulevard and Hemlock Drive. There's a need for a dedicated southwestbound right turn and left turn onto Perryworth Road. And in this study, we contemplated the potential for what a roundabout at Perryworth and Hemlock would do, as well as how a three-way stop condition or a two-way stop condition at that intersection of Hemlock Drive and Perryworth would show. Ultimately, all of those were seen to have an acceptable level of service from a traffic perspective with this multifamily project brought online. And lastly, new trips generated by this multifamily development are expected to heavily use the Hemlock Drive down to Perryworth as a primary route, both to get down to Whitestown Parkway as well as up to the new interchange to the northwest when completed. Excerpts from the staff report to point out in December, as I mentioned earlier, December this year on the 3rd, the BZA unanimously approved the use variance for the site with a commitment to reduce the number of units from 222 down to 217. Again, we're proposing 216. And the staff is recommending favorable recommendation for the concept plan for this project. Understanding that we will be coming back for a development plan approval consideration in the coming months. And lastly, as we do not have refined elevations yet for the project, we did want to give the Plan Commission a sense of the level of architecture and materials that would be used on this project and what's preliminarily priced. These two projects on the upper left and the bottom center are strategic capital projects. The one in the upper left is Riverview. The one to the south is at University of Indianapolis. And the image in the upper right is a representative image of the type of brick masonry and other mixture of materials to be expected on this project. In summary, we were given an approval for a use variance earlier this month by the Board of Zoning Appeals for multifamily use on this property. And in accordance with the approval of the variance, petitioner does agree to reduce the number of units down to 216, and staff recommendation for this project is favorable. So we appreciate your time, and if you have any questions, we'd be happy to answer them. Thank you.
Thank you. Staff, would you care to share anything from your report?
Yes, I would. As Brian mentioned, right now with the concept plan, they are not in the they do not meet the requirements of the use variance because of the Whitestown Board of Zoning Appeals meeting. However, when they file for development plan, they will be required to meet the requirements of the use variance. Given that, staff is providing a favorable recommendation for the proposed concept plan, docket PC 20-051-CP.
Has anyone requested to speak?
I have received no request.
I received no request prior to the hearing either.
And we'll give it just a moment. Appears we've received no more, so we'll Petitioner, do you have any further comments as closing remarks that you care to share at this point?
I don't think so. If there's any questions from the Plan Commission, we'd be happy to answer.
Thank you. So we'll close the public hearing and call for questions, comments, discussion amongst the commission.
Just one question, and it's kind of coincides with the question for when Glasswater Creek was up for approval. On will there be? I don't see any. I think in the the staff report. Will there be any landscaping along the northeast corner of the parking to kind of shade headlights shining towards the residential area?
Yeah, there definitely will be, Andrew, and that was an item that Liam and I both remembered clearly from the Glasswater project. I think we kind of view the saving of the trees along the property line is certainly an amenity, honestly, for both sides of the fence or the property line, as well as the strip of parking that does face eastward on the northeast corner of the site. We'd be happy to show that, and we'd show that at a development plan level in the landscape plan.
Okay, that'd be great for the development plan.
Sure.
Thank you.
Anything else from the commission? Then is there a motion?
I make a motion to adopt to approve docket PC 20-051-CP SCP multifamily concept plan.
I'll second.
Motion is second. Any further discussion?
Alrighty. Matt Doublestein,
Aye.
Andrew McGee,
Aye.
Sarah Ford,
Aye.
Lauren Foley,
Aye.
Dave Taylor,
Aye.
Danny Powers,
Aye.
Steve Milstead.
Aye.
Passes. Thank you all very much. And our final item for tonight under new business, item D, docket PC 20-052-DP, Millhouse Multifamily Development Plan. Is petitioner ready?
Brad, I'm unmuting you, and I will allow you the ability to share.
Fantastic. Pull that up. All right. There we go. Thanks everybody for your time this evening. Again, Brad Vogelsmeyer, Vice President of Development with Millhouse, petitioner and developer this evening, joined by Tom Sardelli, also with Millhouse, and then Dan Berger with CSO Architects, the design firm on this project. If you remember, we were in front of the commission last month for preliminary concept plan approval and tonight for full development plan approval. What you'll see again with our plans is just a wholly consistent furthering of what was originally presented and approved. For frame of reference, again, this is a multifamily project proposed just north of the Little League facilities that are currently under construction. I-65 bounding us to the east, Indianapolis Road to the west, and again, that new development to the south. Approximately a 13.25 acre site, about 12.25 acres reserved for market rate multifamily apartments, proposing 240 units on that 12.25 acre with a 1 acre carve out for future retail use. And so again, the thought process is really trying to create a sense of place with a kind of horizontal mixed use project between the Little League facility, this multifamily project, and an eventual retail development. Just a little bit of detail for folks. Again, 240 apartments plus the retail, a list of all the amenities, both on site and in unit that we're proposing, and then just overall order of magnitude scale, about a $41.5 million project, 10 buildings plus a clubhouse spread across this site. Existing zoning, general business, and as you'll see from the staff report, developing this plan that remains, again, wholly consistent, abiding by those both design principles and the I-65 kind of corridor overlay, and then also here into current zoning as well. Give a little bit more detail, but have both some elevations of the existing project and just to give some sense of representative Millhouse projects, both from an interior amenity perspective and then also exterior architecture. See bottom corner, an aerial perspective. This is looking east from above Indianapolis Road, roughly where kind of Golf Club of Indiana is. with the Little League facility over to the right or to the south. Again, this is not an actual rendering of this existing project. We're just drawing from kind of some inspired architecture as to what you could assume here, since sometimes flat level elevations are a little bit more difficult to read. But again, a fully amenitized market rate development. One comment I will make, again, from the staff report, the existing elevations of both building and the clubhouse, you'll note that the I-65 corridor overlay recommends or requires a red brick building material. We actually asked for a waiver request as part of our submittal, and we understand that that's an unfavorable recommendation as staff reviews it, and so we are certainly amendable to changing that, obviously during the permit process or as a part of a conditional approval of this development plan request. So happy to discuss that further as well, but just noting that even though our elevations stand as you're seeing on the screen today, we're certainly willing to accommodate the correct request if the commission finds that as necessary. Additionally, just timeline walking through, ideally, this is a project that we'd like to start construction on this spring, delivering units about 12 to 13 months later and a full kind of 24-month build time. So again, I appreciate everybody's consideration of requests and happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. Staff, would you share your report?
Staff is providing favorable recommendation to the proposed development plan located at 7279 South Indianapolis Road to construct 420 apartment dwelling units with a clubhouse and parking on 13.23 acres for docket PC 20-052-DP. When it comes to the waiver, staff is providing unfavorable recommendation. Staff finds differing from the permitted list of materials of the development will be out of character with surrounding area for the Little League, as well as the 1 acre retail parcel, a negative effect on creating the intended aesthetic or character change of the area as intended in the I-65 South corridor overlay.
Thank you very much. Are there any public requests to speak on this item?
I have received no comments in the chat.
I have not received any as well.
All right, we'll give it another moment. Still any at this point? No. Any closing comments from the petitioner?
None at this time.
Then we'll close the public hearing and call for questions, comments, and discussions from the commission. Mr. Vogelsmeyer, I wonder if you'd speak a little bit more about that brick item, just to make some give some clarity there. I know you did mention it, but I wonder if you'd give it a little more depth given the staff's report on that.
Yeah, we had originally selected kind of a steel colored brick, more kind of a gray tone. We felt it was somewhat complementary to the surrounding architecture, both new fire station, Little League facility, et cetera. We are wholly respondent, though, to staff's comments about wanting to stick strictly to the I-65 corridor overlay, which requires a red brick material. And so we're happy to adjust elevations to accommodate.
I have a question actually about Indianapolis Road. I don't remember, Danny, what was in the thoroughfare plan for that, but I'm assuming, were there plans for that? Is there any issues with traffic on Indianapolis Road from the studies? I don't recall what we talked about.
No, they will be putting in a passing blister, same as Little League is. But as far as the thoroughfare plan, Indianapolis Road it's contemplated as in the future it could be widened, and what that looks like we don't know because it's supporting the current traffic volumes. The biggest concern would have been the intersection at Indy Road and the Parkway, but since we did the roundabout, that's increased that level of service there.
Right. Thank you.
you have a targeted market for this project? Families, single. It looked to me like there was a wide range of number of rooms and square footage that are available. Can you talk more about your targeted market in this project?
Yeah, I think we're looking to cast a little bit wider net with this project, both kind of the younger spectrum and then families and maybe even some empty nesters. We've certainly made design accommodations for what everyone's experienced in 2020. A lot of our unit plans have built-in den space or in-unit office or desk space to cater to a wide array of kind of working professionals. And so I benchmark that anyone from kind of right out of school, again, to a kind of an older professional profile. I think you'll get a very wide mix at this location.
And just for clarification, I think it was discussed last time, the walking path along Indianapolis Road, the little piece in the northwest corner that's not part of the property, you've committed to complete that walking path, right? Across that little cutout in that northwest corner.
Yes, that is correct. That'll extend on both sides of where the existing lift station is.
Yes, that's what I couldn't think of a word right now.
Yeah.
Being a bit of a school person and thinking about families, and in my memory, I believe this is one of the we haven't seen a lot of multifamily here in Whitestown in Eagle Township. What kind of conversations have you had with school district, and where does that land as far as needs for buildings and supports of additional students?
Yeah, no, that's a good question. We've had conversations with Mike Schaefer, Michael Berg, running a preliminary impact analysis on how they're looking at the impact on school districts. From what we've seen both within our existing portfolio and just kind of market-wide study, we think that range is probably anywhere from 0% to upward of maybe 10% incident of students per unit. So rough order of magnitude, max number of additional students we think we would see here in a given year is probably 24. And obviously that's pretty cyclical too, with higher turnover than you would have on a single family ratio. From their projections, even with referendum levy, there would still be a slight deficit here as far as impact to school district goes, but not nearly as substantial as you would find from a typical single family home community. So I think we're still working through as ultimately what that looks like, but we've had continued discussions with them about the impact that this project would have.
What strategies might there be to help address that that impact at this point? You said continuing thoughts or discussions or whatever. What do those look like? What kind of options are there?
I think it's very difficult on the programmatic side. Obviously, we can't discriminate to not have families and students. The biggest challenge for us is obviously you get to a certain point, and with the expense ratio per student versus the revenue that's coming in with this already being in an existing TIF district, regardless of what project size-wise, small or large, we would create, there's always going to be a negative impact. So I think it's understanding from the school district perspective how much of that is going to offset actual operating versus paying down debt service. So there's been no official ask necessarily to date, and so leave that kind of open for continued discussions as to how you remediate that outside of writing basically a check on a yearly basis to accommodate any shortfall. Challenge, as you obviously might know too, is if there's not a shortfall in a given year, if it's actually a benefit, if there's say no students living in the project, how that is handled in a reciprocal fashion. So obviously a very delicate and important conversation, but no concrete solutions as to how that would be solved yet.
What's the timeline and forecast on that retail parcel?
I think generally a lot of it would align with when the project is more fully constructed and delivered. Once you see improvements and heads in those households is a lot more likely to have that retail developed out. So for probably into 2022, end of 2021.
Thank you for answering my questions. Are there any additional? Yes, I do thank you for your answers. I recognize those things are difficult for us as, I don't speak on behalf of the school district, but for schools, and thank you for those answers. I have appreciated our town and those who desire to see varying and varied kinds of housing here in our community. And I think that's an asset for ours. So thank you for that. If there's nothing else from the commission, is there a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve docket PC 20-052-DP Millhouse Multifamily Development Plan. My motion does not include the waiver.
Andrew, you saying approve, just so I'm clear, you approve the docket, but do not approve the waiver? Is that what you're saying?
Correct.
Is that enough language there?
I'm comfortable with that. We're accepting the staff report, essentially.
Second.
A motion and a second. Is there any further discussion?
All right. Matt Doublestein,
Given some of the items here about related to school district, I'm going to abstain on this one.
okay. Andrew McGee,
Aye.
Sarah Ford,
Aye.
Lauren Foley,
Aye.
Dave Taylor,
Aye.
Danny Powers,
Aye.
Steve Milstead.
Aye.
So I will say that passes 6-0.
Great, thank you. And thank you for presentation. All right. Pull my agenda back up here. I believe we're here at the end of our new business. Well, of course it closed out. Very sorry.
Matt, I will just say I have one item for other business.
Thank you.
So
Go ahead with that.
for other business, I would just like to note, we are having to change the date of our January Plan Commission meeting. This meeting was originally scheduled to be held on January 11th. We are changing this meeting due to having all town meetings occur after the town council meeting has been held. We will move our Plan Commission hearing to January 19th. It will still be held at 6:30 p.m. and it will still be a virtual hearing.
Great, thank you. Anything else for announcements?
No.
All right. Then I believe we can entertain a motion to adjourn.
So move.
Second.
Motion is second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Great. We stand adjourned. Thank you all very much.